What's up, everybody? It's Jared with Capture the Magic, and there's been a lot of questions about how Walt Disney World was going to fare this summer as Epic Universe is now open and Disney running all the discounts that they're running this summer. People have wondered, are the crowds going to come to Disney World? And it seems as of right now, they are not. And there are multiple outlets talking about this. One of them is Touring Plans. And they have an article here saying, remember how last week I said crowds would stay in the 3 to 5 range, talking about on the crowd calendar. Said, I take it back, I take it all back. Not only did crowd levels stay low, they dropped even further. We're now looking at one of the slowest Junes on record in the past decade.
What did you say?
The only slower June was 2021 during the pandemic, and to be fair, in 2020 when the parks were still closed. If this trend holds true, we're going to have to rename Cool Kids Summer to Ghost Town Summer.
This is terrible. Terrible.
We also have an article here that kind of talks about some other things people have noticed from Disney dining, and they say Walt Disney World Resort's Epcot theme park is experiencing a noticeable dip in attendance, leaving many guests wondering why the crowds aren't showing up as expected. Over the last few weeks, reports from countless Walt Disney World guests confirm what many have suspected. The parks are not as bustling as they usually are during the summer. Whether it's the sweltering Central Florida heat or the increasing popularity of Universal Orlando's Epic Universe, something is keeping crowds away from the Disney parks. Last week, one Epcot guest shared a video showing an unusually empty walkway during what would typically be a packed afternoon. And this is the video here just showing walking around. That looks like it is World Showcase. Yeah, basically just empty, which is not something you typically see a lot. Now, I suppose in Epcot's defense, there's no festival going on right now. World Showcase is typically, when there's no festival going on, not very bustling. But again, it's very rare to be in Disney World or Universal Studios and walk around areas of the theme parks where you basically just can't see people at all. That is very rare to find. Several commenters shared similar observations, noting shorter than usual wait times at Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom. They said, quote, all weekend we had 10 to 20 minute waits, even for Tron and Tiana's Bayou, said Miss Brunette 1. And they also said Hollywood Studios was also dead. Another guest, Major Flopira, wrote, waited 15 minutes for Rise of the Resistance, and Tiana was a walk-on during fireworks. The decline in crowds has also led to more affordable pricing for some Disney resort hotels. Someone said, I was wondering why I got a $400 Grand Flow reservation for next Saturday. They are running some deals this summer on the hotels for sure. Several Walt Disney World Resort guests pointed to the extreme heat as a key factor in the reduced crowds. I'm a local and I cannot handle Disney in the summer. It says I'll be back in late September. And someone said, even as a local, the heat still packs a kick. For many, the high temperatures are proving too much to handle, especially with long days in the park. One argument I don't buy as a reason as to why people may not be in the parks is the heat. I know Bob Iger has used this reasoning like last year, a couple of years ago, saying it's really hot. Florida's been hot forever, and if you look at the average temperatures, they haven't really changed. But I don't think the heat is a singular factor, because it's not like Orlando was San Diego weather where it was 70 degrees year-round. Like, it's always been hot in the summer at Disney World. That has not changed, and I just don't think that is an ultimate reason as to why. I think a lot of locals, talking for us, like, we don't like to go to the parks during summer for the reason it's hot, but we get to go more often because we live closer. So I think when you're dealing with that scenario, it makes sense that many locals won't go in there because, they can go to the parks kind of whenever they want. But many people historically have used the summers to go on vacation. Others speculated that Epcot's lower crowd levels could be attributed to the increasing draw of Universal's Epic Universe. Someone says, trust me, everyone's at Epic. Also, everyone's been going to Epic Universe in Universal, so it's been packed there, says L.A. Warzies echoed. And an example of like how low, the crowds are, what the wait times are looking like, this is from that Park Place. The average posted wait times from June 10th to June 16th, Slinky Dog Dash was 67 minutes. Cosmic Rewind was 64 minutes, down from 83 minutes the week before. Tron was at 58 minutes, down from 72 minutes. Flight of Passage was 55 minutes, down from 64 minutes. And they also said Touring Plans notes that actual waits averaged just 69% of posted times, meaning even the busiest attractions were moving guests efficiently. Magic Kingdom, often Disney's most crowded park, had an average park-wide posted wait time of just 19 minutes. Hollywood Studios fell under 30 minutes, and these are levels usually reserved for mid-September or post-holiday January, not mid-June. Also, the crowd calendar failure shows severity of the drop as Touring Plan's predictive model also took a hit. They said their predictions were within one crowd level of reality 0% of the time last week, a first in the history of their blog. Every miss was an overestimate. Said that's the worst performance in the history of this little blog series, they admitted, even noting that it was worse than weeks with hurricanes. The most glaring miss came on June 15th when Hollywood Studios was projected to be a crowd level of 7 and ended up being a crowd level of 1. The timing couldn't be more awkward for Disney executives. Epic Universe just opened to tremendous buzz, and while Universal's newest theme park continues gaining momentum, Magic Kingdom's Disney's flagship appears emptier than ever. This is especially embarrassing for Parks Chairman Josh D'Amaro, who previously claimed that Universal's expansion would benefit Disney World attendance, especially at Magic Kingdom. So far, the data tells a different story. If anything, Epic Universe is giving guests another reason to delay or entirely skip a Walt Disney World vacation, and for those who are going, Magic Kingdom simply isn't drawing them in. So they say, what's driving the decline? Touring Plan suggests that socioeconomic conditions are part of the equation, but they also point to operational and entertainment gaps. Magic Kingdom appears especially deserted, with guests likely holding off on visits until the new nighttime parade arrives. Epcot is similarly soft during its annual festival gap, with some analysts dubbing it Diet Epcot. In terms of ride reliability, some attractions saw unusually high downtime, such as Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which was down 60% of the day on June 11th. But with so few guests in the park, even major breakdowns didn't ripple into chaotic backups. Touring Plans doesn't expect a meaningful rebound in Walt Disney World crowd levels until late July, when Starlight debuts on July 20th and Test Track reopens on July 22nd. Until then, anyone willing to brave the heat will find unusually short waits, open pathways, and a park experience unlike anything seen since the early reopening days. So obviously the crowds are lower at Disney this summer. That is really undeniable at this point. As to the reasons as to why, I don't think it's just one singular thing. I do agree with Touring Plans. Some of this is economic. I think a lot of people do not have discretionary income, especially after the last few years of the economy. People are not in a great place financially to be spending money to go on vacations. I think that is part of it, undoubtedly. I think also changing of travel trends is also part of it. We have seen, especially since COVID, people are not traveling in the summer like they historically have. And, even talking about a couple years ago, we were in Disney World on like July 3rd, and it was not busy. And I was very, very shocked by that. And we've seen this before on holidays, on typically times whenever it's been historically busy. It's not that busy at the parks. Usually whenever the annual pass holders are blocked out, as typically that is whenever you'd have, your typical people traveling into Disney World coming here, and there's just not as many of those coming into the parks on those days. And then how much of it is Universal and Epic Universe? I do think some of it is Universal and Epic Universe, undoubtedly. Now, as to how much, I'm not going to get on here and say that I think it is the ultimate reason as to why this is happening. Epic Universe has barely been open a month. That park's capacity has not been where they want it to be eventually. They're still working toward building the capacity of that park to get it, well over 20,000 guests in a day. But there is a lot of demand for that park. As we've seen, the wait times go up and people are going there. But I don't think it's at the ultimate level that Universal wants it to be. So I don't know how much of an impact Epic is on this. And we really won't know that until we get sort of the quarterly earnings reports from both Disney and Universal to see what the attendance levels look like. We can look at wait times. And if you look at the charts here that I have here, you can see the wait times at Magic Kingdom are on a decline. And when you look at, say, Islands of Adventure at Universal Studios, it's also not high, but it's not as much of a drop as Disney World's is. Now, I would say Universal's looks a little bit more flat in terms of that chart and not as much of a downtrend. I think when you look at Magic Kingdom, if it was like looking at a stock price and how it was looking, you would say that is in a downward trend, whereas Universal is having a dip as well, but theirs looks like it's more steady across the board. So if Universal is also seeing a bit of a dip in the wait times there, potentially in their parks also, that means the travel trends would be hitting Universal as well. I have been to Universal a couple of times the past month, and we went on like a Wednesday during the week, and it wasn't jam-packed, but it also wasn't like a desert town. It was kind of in the middle. Like wait times were rather, manageable. Wasn't horrible to be there, but it was a Wednesday in the middle of the week. So I don't know what it's like on a weekend, and I can't speak to like what again, that's just anecdotal of what I saw being there. So I'm not going to take just what I saw that day and make an overall assumption as the overall attendance. And one thing you got to think too, with all the deals that Disney's running right now, if they weren't running these deals, how bad would this attendance be right now? Because again, touring plans themselves said it hasn't been this bad in terms of the attendance since 2021, right after the reopening from COVID. This summer they're running, you got some hotel rooms for $99. You've got half price kids tickets. You've got all sort, a slew of discounts, annual pass holder discounts, some 40% off of dining for annual pass holders. So you've got a lot of things going on that Disney's running deals for, trying to boost their attendance, almost as if they understood that they were going to be struggling with their attendance. And it seems even with all those discounts, that is still happening here. Now, there very well could be part of it as well. Like Touring Plane said, you got the parade coming up in July. You got Test Track coming back online in July. You could see a rebound of the parks on that scenario. But I think that would much more be locals and annual pass holders, because most people, like the Starlight Parade and the opening date for Test Track, were just recently announced. So most people that are coming in for vacations are planning these vacations months out. So people would not be planning to come to Disney, 2 or 3 months ago just for these specific things here. So I think those things coming online, you could see a lot more of the locals, annual pass holders coming in. How much would that translate to the general public coming in more? That's something we have to wait and see. So you could see a rebound in July due to the parade and Test Track, but you could see a scenario where you see the first couple of weeks have a jump as everybody comes in to check them out, and then it levels out again. We'll find out, how it's looking on the earnings reports, what they say from both Universal and Disney. If Universal sees an uptick in their attendance, which I think they will compared to last year and last quarter, I think they're going to see an increase, likely just due to Epic Universe opening, and then what it looks like, more toward the fall and the winter, as Christmas time is a big time for people now to travel to theme parks. And I'm sure Disney is really hoping and counting on a big fourth quarter if they are having a very slow summer here. And if these travel trends continue into the fourth quarter, that's also going to be very interesting in that scenario. And do they continue to run these discounts, going into the Christmas time period, which we really haven't seen them do before? And, what that could mean going forward, not only this year, but into next year as well. But the thing that could be a real bad scenario for Disney is right now, Epic Universe, they're still figuring that park out. They haven't got the park capacity up where they want that to be. So as of right now, if Epic Universe and Universal Studios are impacting them to a significant degree here, that potentially only gets worse as they work out all the issues at Epic Universe and eventually get that park capacity up much more toward the 45,000 per day cap or park capacity there. And if they're able to do that, this issue could really be bad next year, as that park would really hit its stride. And again, I've talked about many times, if all these discounts and stuff aren't working this summer, all the things Disney's building are not going to be done for years from now. This is not only just a this summer potential issue, but also a, next summer and the next few summers that this issue could potentially be hitting Disney, as Epic Universe is not even as strong as it's going to be. And if it is having this sort of impact on Disney already, that is, I would say, troublesome for Disney, trying to navigate these waters in the short term as they build all the things that they're building as basically their answer for Epic Universe. So like I said, we don't really know what the driving factor of this is at this point. But when we find out more information, especially once we get those earnings reports, we will talk about it in here and let you know what that's looking like. But if you are looking to go to Disney this summer, you got some pretty low crowds as of right now. Maybe it turns on in July whenever the parade and Test Track open back up. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. But either way, that's going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about all this? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.